Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2016 Tesla Model S, we're going to be showing you how to install the EcoHitch Trailer Hitch receiver. But before we do that, why don't we check this out and make sure that this is going to be the hitch that's right for your Tesla. Right off the bat, one of the really unique things about this particular hitch is the fact that the receiver tube here is actually removable. So this is just one part of the hitch. And believe it or not, we actually have the main body of our hitch installed on the Tesla already. And that's what's really neat about this one. Whenever you're not using it, you can take this bolt out. This drops down. You can store it in the car or in the garage, whatever. And you're not even going to be able to know that there's a trailer hitch on your Tesla. So it really does a good job at maintaining the factory type appearance. You know, these are really sporty, nice cars, right? And so it's always good to have that option to be able to pull this off if you don't want to look at it, or if maybe it's the off season and you don't plan on using it for a while. But whenever you are ready to use it, it's not too bad. It's a little bit of work. You know, you are going to have to put this thing in and put a bolt in and tighten it down. But it was actually easier than I thought it was going to be. So you line this up. Obviously, you take your bolt and put it in. So this is one of these things where it's not so easy that I want to do it every single time, especially if I planned on using it. But like I said, if it was one of those things where, you know, hey, I'm not going to be using the hitch for a while type thing, I would definitely spend the extra minute or two to pull this out and keep it hidden. But, you know, if I was out riding bikes or something on the weekend and knew I was going to be doing it again later in the week, I'd probably just leave it on personally. But, you know, that's one of the things. You're going to have that choice and use it however you want to. So, obviously, I just got this in here hand tight. If you're going to use it, you want to get a tool on there and torque it down and everything. But, you know, even when it's in place, it still doesn't look that bad by any means. You're just going to see the receiver tube, and, you know, it's not terrible. One of the things too, I like how they kind of thought through the clearance aspect of this. So it's going to give us good clearance and allow us to use a lot of different bike racks and things of that nature. This receiver tube is going to have a 2" by 2" opening. Very common size. A lot of different things are going to work with it. It is going to use that standard 5/8 pin and clip. Keep in mind though, pin and clip doesn't come with the hitch, but if you need one, not really a huge deal. You can always grab it here at eTrailer. And the safety chain openings, they're tough to get to. I'm not gonna lie, they're buried up there pretty good. Relatively small, but kind of just the nature of things here with the design of the hitch and, you know, how you're actually going to be able to use it with the Tesla. I mean, you're still able to get the hook up there. It's a relatively large one too. On the other side, how they have you cut this hole, so they make it big over here so you can get the bolt in right. On the other side though, it's pretty tight. And so if you were planning on ever using or needing to use your safety chain hooks, my suggestion would be over on the other side when you install this to cut it out a little bit bigger. That'll give you a little more room and allow you to be able to get a hook up there just a little bit easier. As far as the hitch's weight capacities go, it's going to have a 400-pound maximum gross tongue weight rating. And that's going to be the amount of weight that is pushing down on the hitch. So you'll be able to use those 1 to 3, maybe even 4 bike racks, just kind of depending on the weight of everything. Just kind of give you an example there. As far as the hitch's maximum gross trailer weight rating goes, that's going to be 4,000 pounds. And that's going to be the amount of weight that is pulling on the hitch. So the weight of your trailer plus anything that you might have on it. I do always like to recommend though, it's never a bad idea just to grab your Tesla's owner's manual. That way you can make sure your car can pull that much weight safely. Now I'm going to give you a couple of measurements, and you can use these to help figure out which hitch mounted accessories to get. From the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening, that's going to be about 8 inches. So if you do plan on pulling a small trailer around, chances are really good you're going to need to get a ball mount with a decent rise in the shank. From the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of the rear bumper, that's going to be about 1.5 inches. And you can use that measurement to help figure out that if any folding accessories you might have can be stored in that upright position without contacting the back of your Tesla. Compared to some of the other hitches available, this one's honestly probably my top pick, and really I say that just because it has that 2" by 2" opening there, and it's removable. So there's another EcoHitch like this that has a smaller opening, and there's a draw tight hitch available as well, but that one will be, you can't take the tube off, and it's that smaller opening. So this one, you can use a lot more stuff with it. It's just a lot more versatile and just better, in my opinion. But other than that, at the end of the day, I mean, if you're looking for a hitch for your Tesla, definitely want to consider. Like I said, probably my top pick. As far as getting it installed goes, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit of work. Don't let that Tesla name scare you though. It's really no different than taking apart any other car. It's really a lot of fasteners on the bottom, just removing all the panels and stuff, but everything's pretty easy to get to actually. So once you have this off and out of the way, it's it's wide open and really shouldn't run into any issues. But speaking of that, if you'd like to see how that's done, feel free to hang around. We'll go ahead and put the hitch on together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be here underneath the back of our Tesla, and we're going to need to remove some of these panels and loosen everything up. So there's a bunch of fasteners, a couple different types of them, but we're going to first start with this one here. This is a T30 Torx bit fastener, so we'll pull that out. And we're going to have the same one on the same spot, just on the other side of our car. So we'll get that off too. Now we're able to remove this fin deal that runs along here. And I want to mention, from this point on, anything we do to one side of our car, we're going to do to the other side as well, because it'll be set up the same way. But this piece is going to be held in with 3 10mm head fasteners. And these are different. So for example, that one's kind of a coarse thread. And this one in the middle, I think, is more of a fine thread. Yeah, so you can see that. And I think several of these holding the panel up are kind of like that. So pay attention and remember what ones go where, because if you try to run this one up through the fine thread, it'll mess the threads up. So just keep that in mind. There's the last one, and then we should be able to kind of unclip this piece and set it to the side. Now we're able to remove these fins. So these are going to have 3 10mm head bolts and then 2 plastic pushpin type fasteners. With these, you can use a trim tool or a flathead screwdriver will usually work, but you can pry down on the head of it and then pull the whole deal out. So same thing for that one. And then we can grab our socket and pull these out. That one just dropped down. Some of these, they'll have clips in it. You might have to work it off just like we did the bigger one. But with this out of the way, we'll set it off to the side. On these panels here in this area, there's going to be several 10mm head bolts, and we're just going to remove all the remaining ones. So we'll kind of just work our way across to get them all out. Sometimes these can get, you almost feel like they get stuck. And just take your time to get it worked out. Eventually it'll pop free. Get that one out. Same deal for this one here. And then once we have that done, we can grab the liner . It is tight, so a little effort is needed. We're just going to kind of tuck this in, and right in this area here, just on the inside where our quarter panel meets the fascia, there's going to be a screw that runs up. That screw, it's going to have a T25 Torx bit head, so we'll have to get that removed. There's the screw. I'll grab the appropriate tool. And we'll get that out. So now we can open up our rear hatch, and little floor liner here, you can just pop that back. We need to remove this threshold piece, and I believe this is just snapped into place. So one thing you can do, if you take your weather stripping and kind of just peel that back, that'll usually make it a lot easier to get off. You can take a trim tool like this one here, and we're just going to start to pry up on it till it releases. And these are the clips that were actually holding this in. So that's what we were kind of popping up to get them to come out, but this out of the way, we'll move it to the side. Then we can remove this curved piece of plastic as well. Essentially same deal. You peel back the weather stripping and just pry up on it. We'll release those couple of clips and we'll get it out of the way. Now what you can do is just push this felt liner down out of the way, and this might be kind of tricky to see, so bear with us here, but there's this piece of chrome tape, and if you peel this down, that'll expose a hole, and inside of there, there's going to be a stud with a 10 millimeter nut on it, and we're going to need to remove that. So you're going to need a deep well socket because that stud's pretty long. And this is one of these things you almost just have to do by feel. Get this off and be deliberate when you're doing this, because obviously you don't want to drop it and lose a nut. So I'm going to get it pretty much off completely with the socket, and then kind of go in here by hand and get the nut off. Now with the next set of hands, you can actually pop our fascia off. I did put some painter's tape along the seams here just to help kind of protect the paint if, you know, we pull this off, you don't want to scratch anything. But we're going to start with this corner piece here. And what I've done in the past is just kind of start to work it and loosen everything up a little bit. And then we can just carefully unclip this and work our way around. And then this will slide out, and it looks like over here on my side we are going to have an electrical connector, and so we'll disconnect that. You can push down on the center of that tab and separate the two, and with the fascia now free, we can set it off to the side so we're safe. With the bumper cover out of the way, now we can remove our beam here. Before you take this off, just draw an arrow pointing up, that way we know which way to put it back on, have something to reference. And on each side of it, we're going to have a total of 4 15 millimeter head nuts. So go ahead and grab our socket and pull all these off. I already removed the ones on the other side of our vehicle, so we should be able to slide this off and out of the way for now. With the beam out of the way, that'll expose 4 more nuts that we're going to be removing, again with a 15 millimeter socket. If you move to the center, we're going to have this sensor, and with this style, what we're going to do is remove it. So there's a 10 millimeter nut, and we're going to flip it upside down. And when you do this, make sure the wire goes through like this, that way it doesn't get pinched by the hitch. And I want to mention, so there's a few different styles of sensors, and even some cars will have an additional impact beam kind of below the bumper beam. They're all set up a little bit different. But if yours looks different than ours, make sure to reference the instructions, because if it is set up a little different, they give you other ways to reattach this and everything else. So I just wanted to mention that, but with ours being like this is what we're going to do. Now we can grab the nylon washers that come with the hitch, and they give you 8 of them per side. So we're just going to put these on all of the studs, and then what we're able to do is grab our hitch and get it into position. With our hitch now, we can put it in place. So you're going to line it up on those studs. Make sure our wires are getting pinched there in the middle, and then we're going to take the factory nuts and get them started hand tight. For now, we're just going to do these ones here in the middle. Once all these nuts are in place hand tight, you want to make sure that the hitch is centered so you can move it from side to side. I did that, and instead of just eyeballing it, what I actually did was eyeballed it, got it close, and then I just measured from this edge here on the body to this edge of the hitch, and I made sure they were the same on each side of the vehicle. And doing that's pretty surefire way that you know we're exactly where we need to be. With that said, now what I'm going to do is tighten the nuts down. Once these are snug, we need to make sure and come back with a torque wrench and torque them down to the amount specified in the instructions. If you don't have a torque wrench, you can get one here at eTrailer, or a lot of times you go to your local auto parts store. They'll have one there available that you can rent, usually for free. With those torqued, now we can grab our beam again and get this in position. Usually helps to line up the bottom ones first and then kind of roll it up top. And with these, we're going to take the included nuts and get these started. Put this one on the outside, and then this one here, we're going to use something a little different. We're going to be using this type of nut that comes with the hitch. And so you'll make sure to get that started too. Once those are all in place, make sure to come back and just snug them down. That one's going to be a different size, but I'll come back to it. I'll get these with our 15 right now. With those snug, we need to come back and torque them again. That different type of nut, in case you were wondering, that uses a 17 millimeter size socket. So we'll just work our way around to get all these torqued down to spec. Next, we can actually take these nice little straps and bolt these up. So the way these are going to work is they're going to sit like that and line up with our coupling nut and that hole in the hitch. These are side specific. One way you can tell, you want to make sure that this angled portion here kind of points down, kind of follows the line of the hitch. But with that in mind, what you're going to do is take the shorter bolt, a split lock washer, and a flat washer. Put that on. That's going to go here. So I'm just going to thread that in place. And then you can grab the longer bolt, put on a flat washer. That's going to go through there. And on the other side of it, where it comes out, another flat washer, split lock washer, and a nut. And with these hand tight, we can come back with some tools and tighten and torque them down. Just as promised, we'll tighten and torque these down. I like to start with that one first, and pay attention too, because this one and this one, they do have different torque specs, so be sure to make your adjustment. For that nut, I was using a 17mm socket, and for the smaller one, I have a 14mm socket and wrench. That way we can hold this from spinning while we torque it down. At this point, we can trim up our underbody panel here. That way there will be an opening and we can actually be able to get to our hitch and everything else whenever we're ready to use it. So there's a measurement in the instructions. And so you measure off of the center point there and go up. Make sure it's centered as well, and put a crosshair. I put some painter's tape along here too, just to kind of keep stuff protected if this gets away from me. But I'm using a hole saw, and we're going to drill this out. Once you have this hole made, we're going to need to do another one. And so with this one, you just want the holes to overlap slightly. And with this one, you want to bring it down just a little bit too. That way we kind of follow the contour of the bumper there. So I marked out my spot, and we'll go ahead and drill this out as well. So with these two holes cut, we're going to have these points here just to clean up the act a little bit. I took a straight edge, made some marks, and I'm going to cut these out so we have just one good hole there and make everything look a lot better. So I'm going to use a Dremel tool to remove this material. Moving on back to our hitch here, for us to get the fascia on, we're going to have to take our receiver tube off. So there's a bolt to pull that out. You might have to break it loose with a socket if it's too tight to get by hand. If that is the case, you can use a 15/16, I believe is what it is. But pull this out, drop this down, and then we can get our fascia and make sure it all fits and everything lines up. What we'll go ahead and do now is grab our fascia, reinstall it the opposite way that we removed it. If you unplug that connector on this side, don't forget to plug it back in, which I have done already, but we'll simply just get this line back up and start to get it resecured. Once your fascia is resecured and everything's put back together, you have a couple choices here. If you plan on using your hitch, what you can do is take your receiver tube opening there, place that on in, and take the bolt, put it through. Obviously, you tighten it down and torque it, and that'll allow you to be ready to hook up to your trailer or use your accessory, whatever you plan on doing with it. If you're not planning on using it for a while and you would prefer to have the look of it not being here, obviously you just simply leave it out until you're ready to use it again. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the EcoHitch Trailer Hitch receiver on our 2016 Tesla Model S.